All right. How's everybody doing today? Can you guys all hear me and see my screen share okay? Okay. All right. Um, we'll go ahead and get started for today. So what we'll do today is going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past 2 weeks for our meetup. In the past, I've had a little bit more didactic lecture for you guys, but since I have made changes to the due date for the lit review, I want to give this time to you guys to ask questions about that and for us to talk about a little bit more of what the purpose of the lit review is and to help you guys feel a little more comfortable about the direction that you're going in on that assignment. Because I know that a lot of you have expressed that you're feeling a little nervous about that assignment. So that's really what today will be devoted to. I'm also going to show you quickly what I have just before I popped on here, have opened up on Moodle to just kind of show you around week 4 so you can see what to expect. Um, do you guys have any questions for me before we get going? And if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat or you can just chime in and tell me that you have a question. It is helpful if you tell me your name when if you're popping in just with your voice, just so I can scroll to you and make sure that I see you while you're talking. All right. So the first thing we'll do is just kind of look over week 4. Are you guys seeing this okay? Okay. My screen probably looks a little bit different than what your screen will look like as a student. But the things that I'm going to show you, you'll have access to on Moodle. Um, I haven't put the checklist up quite yet today. I've been double checking my math just to make sure it all adds up because that's been a source of stress for a lot of you, making sure that that you have your 100 points, and some of it is just making sure that everything lines up. So I just have that to do, and then that'll be posted for you guys. Um, Week 4 is really whenever we're going to be getting into measurement. So, up until this point, we've really talked about conceptualization. So, thinking about the big picture of, first of all, from practice, how we can get questions to ask in research, how we can pull from our practice as social workers to form practice informed research questions. And so now that you guys have your research question with the lit review, you are finding how your question really fits into what's already been done. Um, all of that has been under the umbrella of conceptualization. So, defining what the problem is, thinking about what these concepts mean, why the issue is important, putting it into the context. Now we're going to be moving more from the theoretical to the concrete, and more from the practice to the research. And so we're moving from conceptualization to operationalization. And so for weeks 4 and on, this is going to be what you kind of consider your researchy stuff. We're going to be starting to hear, more research terms like random sampling, research designs, statistical analyses. We're going to be learning more about those things and how they relate to these concepts that we've been talking about. And so the first step is really measurement. So now that you guys have your concepts, how do we measure them? How do researchers operationalize their variables? So that's really what week 4 is all about. You'll see that the setup is very similar to what it has been in the past. You'll have your Padlets for your resources, and then you'll have 4 different guided reviews for week 4. And they really correspond with the chapters well this week. So the first one is really linked up with chapter 8. The second one is linked up with chapter 9. The third one is linked up with chapter 10. And then this last guided review is related to APA. And the APA style information for this week is focused on grammar and usage. So for those of you who may be struggling with your writing, this is going to really be an important section for you guys. There are going to be some really helpful activities that you can do to make sure that you really understand some of these concepts that are important, especially for APA style. And so you'll have an opportunity to do some of those activities for your optional activities for participation this week. And you'll have your quiz. The journal club assignment for this week is going to be just like what it is like for week 4 is going to be just like what it was for week 3, except the questions are changing. So, whereas the questions in week 3 were really focused on that conceptualization piece, these questions are going to be more focused on measurement. So, actually, I don't know why this isn't published to you guys yet. Let me do that so I can make sure that you guys see it. So really it all looks the same except the questions. The questions are, do you guys see the Word document? Okay. So you'll see that this looks different. The questions are different. So it's asking more about the scales, about the reliability, the validity of the scales. And so these are all topics that'll be covered in week 4. And so the structure of the assignment will be the same, though. You'll have a group article that will be one that you can collaborate on with your group mates in your journal club, and then you will be asked to pick one individual article that's related to your topic or something that you're interested in to answer the questions to again. Okay, and then the last thing that'll be put up there is the measurement, the measurement research proposal section. You'll find that those questions are going to be pretty similar to the questions that you see on the journal club worksheet. We're going to be making your concepts more concrete. So the questions are going to be more about how you're going to measure the different concepts that you're interested in. And the format of that is going to be very similar to what we've done in the past. It's going to look a lot more like your research proposal assignments 1 and 2, how there were kind of questions, a question answer kind of format. All right. Do you guys have any questions about week 4? Nope. Okay. All right. So it looks like we've got a good group today. We may even break into small groups because we have enough of you guys, and this might actually be a better way to facilitate a discussion about your lit reviews. Um, so I'm going to pull up the instructions for the lit review to just kind of guide us in our discussion. I know that your number one question is probably when is an example going to be posted? And I appreciate your patience with me on that. I am working on that for you guys. Like I said in my email, this is the first time that I've asked students to write a lit review in this way. And so I don't have student work to pull from. So I'm working on this on my own to give you a sample. So I appreciate your patience with me while I put that together. Um, yeah, let's see if I can pull up this. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, so I'm assuming that everybody has started their lit review. Yeah, or at least thinking about it. I used to say when I was in my PhD program, my advisor would ask me, "Oh, how's your lit review going, or your method section?" I'm like, "It's in the conceptualization phase." I'm thinking about it. And really, especially for lit reviews, it is a lot of thinking. It's a lot of reading over the literature, pulling out the key information, and then really kind of sitting with it to think about how it all connects. Um, some of the questions that I've been getting from you guys is about feeling kind of overwhelmed with fitting everything into 5 to 7 pages when I'm asking you to use so many sources. And so I think that part of that is that some of you might be used to writing lit reviews or annotated bibliographies or papers like this where your professor might want you to write like a summary of each one of the articles. And this paper is a little bit different than that. I don't want to see so much of summaries of the articles. I want you to synthesize. That's what I want to see. That's what the goal of this assignment is to synthesize. So I want to know how all of these articles that you found in your reading connect together. So I asked you guys last week, and a lot of you are, um, answered this for me last week. But how many of you have done a lit review before? Yeah. So some of you, I know last week when I asked this, a lot of people who had undergrads like in sociology or in psychology may have written one. Um, I find that a lot of times students who are coming from the humanities, this is a bit of a new way of writing for them, especially coming like from English or philosophy. Um, you have a lot more creative license. APA style writing is very boring. It's very formulaic, and it is pretty cut and dry. It's hard to be creative and to be um, to be engaging with APA writing. It really is. But on the flip side, it's really supposed to be standardized. And so you're not really supposed to be that creative with your writing. It's supposed to fit into the same kind of format because that's how we can evaluate research. If everything is done in a different way, it would be hard to be able to make comparisons between things. So that's why we have APA format and why a lot of this is more technical. All right. So this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think about us breaking into some small groups and we can talk about your lit reviews? So it gives you an opportunity to meet a classmate, to learn about other people's topics, to kind of talk about the things that have been easy for you, things that have been harder for you to do. Um, and I can come and kind of pop into your conversations to help you guide the conversations and give you some answers if you have questions. Oh, hang on, I think I have a chat. Oh, okay. I have a question about measurement and analysis. Okay, so the question is from Bridget, and she said that she has a question about measurement and analysis, and asked if there's any software programs that I recommend, and that that she knows that we're going to be talking about that next week, but had some questions about measurement, like in the articles that she's reading now. Is that kind of right, Bridget? Is that what am I getting at that right?
Okay. Sorry, I just had to unmute. Um, so I would really like to start writing the literature review this weekend. And you mentioned that we would have to kind of outline what our process was in analyzing the information that we got. Um, but I don't really know how to answer that question because I guess we haven't covered it yet. So is that going to be like a software thing that we do?
So when I say analyze, I don't mean data. I mean to analyze, like just to think critically about the articles that you have found. So, um, some people will use like an Excel spreadsheet where they may list like the citation. They may list like the independent variable, the dependent variable, or the different like concepts that are in each article. Or, with my assignment, since I have specific questions, you might set up the spreadsheet so that you can take notes on, what the important takeaways from those articles were, and what section it would go into. But as far as software goes, I mean, there isn't a whole lot for this. A lot of people will use Excel though. They'll use like a spreadsheet.
Okay, I've had to work with SPSS for a previous research class that I took. And to be honest, I wasn't really looking forward to having to use it again. So I'm glad.
And at this point, we wouldn't be doing SPSS, so that'll be like week 5 or 6, before we get to data. We're just looking at the literature right now, so we're really just looking at how your question kind of fits um, into the research that you found now. So it's all conceptual to this point. We haven't really operationalized anything. And in this class, we're actually just going to get up to the point where we propose the project. So we're not actually going to even collect data in this class. We're not going to collect or analyze data for your project. I may have some things like that are participation activities for those weeks where you get to play around with some data. But you're not going to have to do that for your research topic itself. We're just going to get up to the point where you're proposing. So you guys can be kind of hypothetical about things too. Someone had asked, about how it was kind of hard to think about the proposed study because, they don't work at a university or, it's hard to think about. And you guys get to, kind of dream a little bit with that and think about, okay, well, I'm just going to imagine that I am at a university or that I'm working with an organization. You can be creative in that way. Okay, I have a couple more questions in the chat. So one of them is, can we write the lit review similar to the research articles we have been reading? So Denise, do you mean like the lit review should look like the lit reviews that are in the articles that you see?
Yes, just, formatting it in paragraph form with the
Mm-hmm.
heading,
Yeah.
and just writing it like we've been reading.
Mm-hmm.
Separate,
Yeah. Yeah, and I would really recommend you to use the sections here kind of to guide your headings too. It helps me whenever I'm reading your papers. But to have like a theory section, to have a main findings section, a limitations section, a proposed study. But if you want to use other headings, that's fine. That's fine too.
Okay, but
Just
it doesn't have to be like outline form, like one and A, B, C, whatever.
no, it should look like a paper. Yeah, it should be
That's what
like
I want.
an
Okay,
APA paper. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. So I have some other chats that some of you might not be able to participate in a small group, and that's okay. I also have some questions about if I have some time for one-on-one questions, and I do. If we, break into our groups, usually at the end of the session. I have, if we end early, then I have time to talk to people one on one. And then every Friday from like 3:30 to 4:30, I have my chat open to answer questions too. All right. Are there any other big questions or questions that you think everybody might benefit from before we break out into our smaller groups? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and break it up into groups. And after we do our groups, like I said, I'm gonna be popping kind of into your groups too. After I've checked in with you guys, and everyone in the group is had a chance to talk and to share, um, and you're at a point where you're wrapping up, you can leave the group. You don't have to go back into the open chat. That's how we'll break for today. It's from our small groups. Okay. All right. It's gonna take me a minute to set you guys up.